So I was digging around on Tumblr the other day and I stumbled across a film called Naturally Native, which is written and directed, produced, and starring all Native American women. And I was like, why have I never heard of this? It's from 1998, which is the same year, if you recall, that Smoke Signals came out. And in Googling, I discovered that the filmmaker has put the whole film for free on her Vimeo account. So naturally, I watched it. And I think it's quite good. I don't think it's quite as well made as Smoke Signals, but I think that having seen this happen in Sundance before, a big film will open in the festival circuit, and if there's another film that's similar but it's directed by women, it gets ignored. This has happened so many times, and obviously Smoke Signals became sort of a cultural phenomenon when it was released, and so of course there wasn't room for another film. And thankfully, in the last 20 years, we've changed a little bit, and I don't think such a thing would happen again this year. But who knows? So if you're interested in watching this film, you just Google it, and it'll pop up on Vimeo, and you can watch it. It's about 2 hours. I'm like sort of mixed on it because I think it's a little too long and it drags in a few places, but I loved the characters so much. I loved spending time with the characters. I loved their journey. I laughed so many times. I was just filled with joy watching the entire film, except for the few moments where I felt like it dragged a little bit too much. And I think the main reason it dragged is they have 3 very compelling lead women, and they couldn't figure out which one of them they wanted to spend the most amount of time with, and so they all got a whole bunch of time, and not all of their storylines are as compelling as the main thrust of the story, which is about these 3 sisters who want to launch a business with natural hair care that they have been passed down to them through the generations. And they're having trouble getting financing because the 3 of them were in 1972 orphaned and then adopted out of their tribe, out of their reservation, out of all of it, and they don't have their ID numbers as registered Native Americans, and it's causing a lot of kerfuffle. And in the end, they end up, spoilers, going back to the reservation and being welcomed in by their family and friends. And it's sort of about coming to terms with your roots, and also very pointedly takes a hard look at both the ways in which Native Americans are fetishized in America and the ways in which they are really discriminated against in so many different ways through legislature. And the film ends with a really informative slide explaining how the laws didn't change until 1978, I think it was, to make sure that children of Native Americans who were orphaned weren't removed from their reservations in the process of adoption and fostering. It also talked about the backlash of Indian casinos and the ways in which lots of people found them morally reprehensible, but it was a way in which so many tribes were able to finally lift themselves out of poverty in a way that the government had sort of kept them in. So it has a lot to say, and it has a lot of interesting characters, and it's one of those movies where I loved it despite it not being all that well made. It's also, apparently, according to its website's still up, the first ever completely funded mainstream film completely funded by Native people. And a good deal of the money came from the Mashantucket Pequot tribal nation, helped pay for the bulk of this film. So that's a big step regardless. I was going to talk a little bit about, it was co-directed by Valerie RedHorse and Jennifer Wynne Farmer. But it was also starring Valerie RedHorse and written by Valerie RedHorse. It was really very much her film. She's the lead. She has been in several other films as an actress, but has also made several documentaries about Native American history, and I want to track those down if I can. The other stars include Irene Bedard as the youngest of the three sisters, she is the voice and sort of essence of Disney's Pocahontas. So there's a moment in it that's very heartbreaking because she is Pocahontas, right? They sort of designed the look of Pocahontas based on her. She voiced Pocahontas for Disney, and then in this film, she goes on an internet date. This is 1998. She goes on an internet date with a man who turns out to be a fetishist, but also a probable rapist who attacks her, but repeatedly calls her Pocahontas in a really gross, disgusting way. And as I was watching it, I knew it was gross. But then when I read that she was also literally Disney's Pocahontas, I was like, "Holy fuck! That's some pointed social commentary if I've ever seen some in a film." So I really enjoyed this film. I think it has a lot to say. Again, I really enjoyed spending time with all of the characters. I definitely recommend seeking it out. It's on her Vimeo. You just Google Naturally Native. You can watch it. Um, it's just a very interesting, wonderful, independent little film from 1998, and I highly, highly recommend it.